Hey folks, welcome back to our kitchen here at Markelly Farm. I'm feeling a little nostalgia today, and I'm going to go down a culinary road that'll take me there. So stick around with us, and we'll explain what's going on here today. So if you were with our channel back in April of this year, I did a little visit to California, and I took you to some of my favorite places to eat while I was there. Now, one of those places is Ferrarese's Deli in Oakdale, California, the cowboy capital of the world. And the thing I used to get there was the Cowboy steak sandwich. And I was saddened to learn that that got removed from the menu during COVID. If there was no other reason to hate COVID, that's the biggest for me. So another thing that this establishment holds for me is it's the first place Kelly and I ever had a date. It's the first place we went out and sat down together after we initially met. So it kind of holds a dear place in my heart. So we're going to make that cowboy steak sandwich for you today. The best thing about it is the simplicity. It's just amazing, and I can't wait to dig in. So we're going to prepare the steak. We got us a beautiful New York strip steak right here. And on a New York, you're going to have a really tough membrane right here along this side underneath that fat, and we need that to go away. So with a real sharp knife, we're going to trim that off. Make sure we get it all off of there. There we go. And then I don't need this fat either, and there's more of that membrane down in there. We'll save that for dog treats later. Now I'm going to take this piece off here as well. Doesn't need to come off, but you might as well while you're doing a good trim on your steak. So that's what we're looking at right there. And we don't want to pound this out, make it any thinner or anything like that. Now, another thing that we used to get a long time ago, when we would go buy steak after work, we'd go by the meat locker in our little town. And our buddy Glenn worked there in the meat locker. And he would take the full New York strip out of the cooler, cut your steaks, and then he would sprinkle them with a little bit of beer. They would keep a 12-pack of Coors Light in the cool box. And he would put a little sprinkle of beer on those steaks. And then he'd get some of their house seasoning, which was a salt-forward seasoning, kind of a Santa Maria style seasoning. Man, this already smells good. Very similar to what our favorite seasoning is here. I'm currently out of my favorite seasoning and I need to order some. But I found some at the store that's very similar, salt forward, no sugar in the mix, just salt and some different kinds of pepper, maybe some paprika, garlic, and that's what you're looking for. But the main ingredient is salt. So we're going to season this steak up good, and this is just the way that Glenn would have did it back in the day. Don't be afraid to use a little seasoning. It's a thick piece of meat, and you want good flavor. So we'll do the other side pretty liberally. About the only time I like to do things liberally. I'm even going to go just a little bit more. So that steak is well seasoned. So we do this ahead of time because I believe the alcohol in the beer kind of works on that meat. It'll actually tenderize this New York strip steak here. So we're going to put this in a Ziploc bag, kind of squeeze the air out of it, and put it in the fridge. Glenn would wrap it all in plastic and then butcher paper, and then you would take that home. It would marinate on the way home, and as it sat getting ready for barbecuing at night, we would actually leave the package out and kind of let it come to room temperature. So we'll get this wrapped up. We'll put it in the fridge. There's our beautiful steak. We're putting it in the fridge because it's going to be a while before we cook this. We'll take it out about an hour before we cook it, so it'll have time to rest at room temperature. We got our doggy treats, and it's 5 o'clock somewhere, right? Now, when Glenn was done seasoning our steaks, we always had that open can of beer, so we would kind of share that. He probably wasn't supposed to consume alcohol at work, but it was almost going home time, so. That was back in the day when, you know, people could do stuff like that. All right, well, we got some stuff to do outside, and it's not quite time to eat yet, so we'll come back and we'll put the rest of this thing together when it's time. Come along. Hey, pups. We got treats for you. One at a time. Ruby, you need to slow down. What do you think about that? New York steak. Pretty good, huh? Alright, it's time. We pulled our steak out about an hour ago. So let's get the bread ready. Now, we've talked about bread on this channel before and how it's very difficult to get the good, firm, crusty bread anymore, especially in like a hoagie roll or something like that. Because if you have a firmer sandwich topping like a steak or like hard salami or something like that, the softer bread just tears apart and doesn't hold up to that. It's fine for egg salad or tuna salad or something like that. And I don't know what it is with these bread companies, won't make it anymore. It's not like everybody in the country is wearing dentures. So I hope somebody picks it up and then makes it someday. So today we had to buy a French baguette. 2 of them actually came in the package. I just put them in Ziploc. I'm going to use this portion here. The other 2 will save. But you see it's nice and firm. It's got kind of the cornmeal on the bottom. That's the kind of bread we need for this sandwich. Like a French dip sandwich too. This is perfect. It holds up. The soft bread they're making nowadays, if you try to do a French dip with that, it just completely falls apart and is a mess. Now, Ferrarese always serve their Cowboy steak sandwich on garlic bread. And they would put it open face on the bottom piece of the bread, and then they would serve the top piece of the bread just open next to it, as like if you wanted to just eat it for like a piece of garlic bread. Or you could put it together and eat it as an actual sandwich. Okay, you want to cut your bread down the middle long ways. Look at these beautiful nooks and crannies in here. I can't wait to dig into this bread. So before we get our bread going, we've got about 3 tablespoons of butter, about a tablespoon of garlic crushed, and about a tablespoon of olive oil in this little bowl. We're going to melt that real quick. All right, 20 seconds in the microwave is all that takes. So to that, we're going to add probably a good tablespoon of fresh chopped parsley. Normally with my garlic bread, I will use basil, but this parsley is going to work for this thing that we're doing here. All right, there we go. So let's get this bread toasty. We'll turn the fire on underneath our stove up to high. And then we're just going to get our bread in there dry. And then we'll throw a little weight on it to get it a good toast. We just used our cast iron Dutch oven that sits here on the stove. That'll be plenty of weight for that bread to get a nice even toast. At the restaurant, they would just do this on their flat top grill. I am sure the same grill they would cook the steak on. Okay, there's our beautifully toasted bread. Boy, that heat really wakes up the flavor of that bread. So let's get some of our garlic mix put onto our bread. You're just going to kind of drizzle it on there, and then we'll spread it around once we get it kind of evenly distributed. Now that you've got your bread topped with your butter, we're going to load some Parmesan cheese on here real quick. And that sends it over the top. That alone is just very good garlic bread if you wanted to do that. And I know it sounds like a lot of butter, but you want it to soak in the bread nicely. Almost when you eat it, you almost want the butter to kind of squirt out of the bread. And then once you lay your steak on here too, that perfectly cooked steak is going to seep its juices down into this bread. It's just amazing. So speaking of steak, let's get our skillet back on the fire here. We'll get it turned back up to about medium, which is pretty hot on this stove. And then we're going to get that skillet nice and hot. We're probably going to set the smoke detector off. But, oh well, we want a nice, quick, good sear on this. We'll turn our vent fan on here real quick. Okay, our skillet's nice and hot. Good way to test it. Get a little water on your finger. See how those little balls dance around on there? We're hot enough. So your skillet's less likely to stick when it's good and hot. So we're going to put a little bit of olive oil on here just to lube the mix up a little bit. Hopefully there's our smoke. So in goes our steak. I'm going to turn the fan on, so I'm going to stop my talking pretty much. We want a real good sear on this steak. We want it about medium rare when it comes off. You want it nice and juicy. So it's not going to take long. A couple minutes per side. As promised, the smoke detectors are on right on cue. Now roll the steak around on its edges too. You don't want any raw edges on your steak. And it's a good sear. We're going to pull our steak off and we're going to let it rest right on the bread over there. And then we're going to deglaze this pan and throw the lid on real quick because we don't want all those burnt bits to stay. Sorry about the detector. I'm going to have to teach Kelly how to do that. Alright, the smoke alarm has finally stopped. Let me show you what deglazing this pan does. All those little brown bits that were stuck to the bottom pan, look how effortlessly those come up. So you don't have a real headache when you're cleaning your pan. And our Cowboy steak sandwich is right over here. Now you know medium rare when you get just a little bit of bounce back in the steak. You don't need a thermometer if you've been doing this for a while. If it bounces back a lot, you're still rare. If it doesn't bounce back at all, it's really firm, you're going towards well done. But I don't know if you can see the bounce back there. That's perfect. There we go, folks. That's how it'd be served up, open faced with one of the bread. They would always come with a side. They had some fantastic sides there at the deli, all the salads and whatever you wanted. We're going to serve it up with a little bit of our homemade chili that we made the other night. So, folks, I just cannot wait to get into this. So let's get after this. Oh my gosh. That meat is so tender, and that is so good. Oh my gosh. Look how perfectly done that steak is. Perfect medium rare, medium. So good. Oh my gosh. You'll have to excuse me. I cannot stress this enough, folks. The bread. You've got to have the bread that will hold up to this, because it's just the perfect bite. The bread doesn't all fall apart, and there's a whole bunch of those meat juices have soaked down into that lower bun. It's almost like eating a French dip. Brings back so many good memories. My first date with Kelly. Can't believe I ate one of these in front of her. Crazy. Folks, I can't even explain what a lip-smacking good time that was. If I was a smoking man, I'd be having a cigarette right now. Not kidding you. So, brings back so many memories. The bread was perfect. The garlic bread was perfect. The seasoning was salt forward and perfect. That steak was nice and tender. If you like a well done steak, you better make sure it's a good steak, because that's the whole reason why I like mine like medium rare, because the meat kind of stays tender. You cook it longer. If it's not a good cut, it's going to toughen up a little bit, but this one was just spot on. Absolutely tender. So hope you enjoyed this video, and man, I hope you make this. Make it for your spouse. I don't even know what to tell you what will happen after that. So they're going to love you forever, I'll tell you what. So until next time, stay safe, stay healthy. We love you guys. Come back and see us here at Markelly Farm.